Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. In this video, I'll be giving you your complete dev server overview for the Alpha Strike dev server. This is the next major update that will be coming to War Thunder within the next few weeks, so I will try to cover it as exhaustively as possible, show you every single vehicle that I can, and when warranted, go over some details of those vehicles. Now bear in mind, some of the details about these vehicles may change going into the actual live server, so all the stats, all that, they are not exactly complete yet, and also there may be some vehicles that show up to the actual live server once the major update is implemented that aren't on the dev server. So there are some changes that could happen, but without further ado, let's get into it. And as you can see, first and foremost, the F-20A Tiger Shark. This will be coming to the next major update, Alpha Strike, as a premium 12.0 rank 8. That's right, we are getting a top tier premium now, rank 8 for the American Air Tech Tree, and will, as of current, cost $74.99. Pretty damn wild. Now this vehicle will have AIM-9Ls, AIM-7Fs, and a whole bunch of unguided ordnance, but you also have AGM-65Bs, which is very nice. Now unfortunately, when it comes to the American Air Tech Tree, that's pretty much what we're going to have. There's nothing really else there. No F-16 variants, no F-15 variants, none of that. Now when it comes to ground, we are getting the 120S, which is basically the M60-2000. This is a 120mm equipped variant of the M60 with, of course, the Abrams turret. And yes, this did exist in real life. It was built once, and will be very, very slow. So I think this has 750 horsepower at max, but of course also has the M829A1 with nearly 600 millimeters of armor pen and thermals, laser rangefinder, all of that, but it doesn't have any sort of composite armor down here. So this will be an interesting vehicle, and it's definitely one of those vehicles that America has kind of gotten the reputation for building, being that, again, it's got a turret on a chassis that really doesn't look like it fits. Now, the Americans will also receive the AH-1W, which is kind of cool. I mean, it sits right here just after the AH-1F and before the AH-1Z. And they receive no ships, at least, again, from what we could tell thus far here on the dev server. Now, when it comes to German ground, they don't really get all too much. However, they will be getting the Zerstörer 45, which is pretty much kind of like a VFW style SPAA with 4 30mm MK103 cannons, so it should be pretty interesting, especially if you want to implement that as a tank destroyer, which is certainly possible with those MK103s. Now for helicopters, they are left wanting, but for aircraft, they do receive a very sought after aircraft, the Alpha Jet A. That's right, we are getting the Alpha Jet rank 6, battle rating 9.0, and it will only feature some anti-ground ordnance and of course a 27mm cannon. No missiles whatsoever, which really sucks. So this will be a pretty good anti-ground vehicle, but that's pretty much it. Though it might be somewhat maneuverable, we'll have to wait and see. Now Germany will not be getting any ships as far as I could tell. Again, we'll have to wait until the actual live server goes, well, live, but the Russian ground tech tree will be receiving something very interesting as a premium. That's right, we will be getting the T-80UD and also, of course, the ZSU-23M4, which, if you guys don't know, the ZSU-23 is pretty much an anti-aircraft gun platform. However, this will be more or less the same thing, except, of course, with 4 missiles attached to it. So pretty cool in my opinion. This thing should be pretty capable. It's pretty much this plus missiles, which is nice, but more people, again, are going to be looking at the T-80UD. This is a currently rank 7, battle rating 10.0 T-80 variant. Now, this will feature a diesel engine. That's right, so this has a 1,000 horsepower diesel engine, and it also weighs 46 tons. The standard T-80 only weighs 42.5 tons, and it also has access to Contact 1 ERA, which then increases it by about a half a ton, and of course, night vision. Now the thing about the T-80UD is that this will, again, only have night vision, not thermals, has a laser rangefinder, and will have Contact 5 ERA, at least based here on what we see on the dev server. So pretty interesting in my opinion. So this will be a slower variant with access to very similar armament. This has the 3PM42, lacks the 3BM22, and overall will just be a lower BR variant, at least as of current, but will be a little bit slower with a little bit more armor protection. So interesting to see. Now, again, as of yet, the Russians do not get any sort of helicopters, unfortunately, although they will be getting an aircraft, the Su-25 SM-3. This will basically be just like the top-of-the-line variant of the Su-25, and will also have access to, of course, R-73s, but more interestingly, they will be getting the KH-38 rather, which are these huge rockets that can either be IR-guided, laser-guided, or I believe possibly, no, not TV-guided, but IR or laser-guided. These things are big. They have a 152 kilogram warhead, 40 kilometer launch range, 2.2 Mach. They are very powerful, and you can carry up to 4 of them. So this will be a very capable aircraft in CAS if you can manage to actually make it to the enemy without being shot out of the sky. Now, unfortunately, they do not receive any sort of ships. So for the 5 players who play naval, you will not be receiving any Russian ships this update. You know, I mean, it kind of stinks because I do personally like playing naval. Great Britain Ground Tech Tree will be receiving the Fox. This is a light tank, rank 4, battle rating 7.0. Pretty much will have the same cannon, if I'm not mistaken, as what we find here on the Warrior, except, of course, just that cannon. That's pretty much it, but it will have over 100 millimeters of armor pen, so it should be pretty interesting. I'm not entirely sure exactly how good it will be, but as 7.0 should be pretty good. Now, they also received the Wessex, which is a really high BR, so the Americans actually have a version of this vehicle, kind of a version of it, at 7.7 BR, but this has a turbo shaft in it and also 4 really decent ATGMs. So this is a pretty powerful vehicle. Now for air, Great Britain receives, of course, the Buccaneer S2, which is 10.3 BR, rank, 7 if I'm not mistaken. It can have AIM-9Ls, and of course, the AJ-168, which will be a, that's technically an anti-shipping missile, but in War Thunder it will not be. This will be a pretty nasty ATGM. You also have, of course, the pave spikes, so this will be a pretty decent vehicle, especially if you're around that BR and you need something for strike. Although, personally, I would rather just take the GR-1A. It's got countermeasures, more of them. It's more capable in terms of speed. That's just me, though. Now, for Blue Water, the Great Britain does receive the HMS Diamond. This is a 1958 configuration destroyer at 4.3 BR. So that's actually pretty cool, in my opinion. I do like how we are getting post-World War II vehicles or variants of vehicles. You know, that's something that you don't really get all the time. So it is kind of nice here, at least when it comes to naval. Now, Japan does receive a premium now, a rank 7 premium, the Type 90B Fuji. That's right, we are getting a Type 90 premium, 4-second reload, 11.0 BR, rank 7. This should be more or less about the same as the Type 90B currently in War Thunder, although, of course, with a camo net, which is, in my opinion, pretty damn nifty. They will not be receiving any helicopters, nor does Japan receive any aircraft, again, at least on the dev server, as far as I could tell. Now, they are receiving a top-tier battleship with 410 millimeter cannons, 41 centimeter cannons, which are now the largest in War Thunder. And just to kind of show you the power of these things, 49 kilograms of explosive filler equivalent with 340 millimeters of armor pen at max, and even with the APCBC, 732 millimeters of armor pen with 16.5 kilograms of explosive filler equivalent. These weigh 1,000 kilograms, these shells. Absolutely diabolical. And even the secondary shells, 140 millimeters, are larger than a lot of vehicles' main shells, even just 1 BR below. But unfortunately, well, if you care, they are not receiving anything for coastal. Now, China will be receiving the ZBD-04A. This is probably closest to like a BMP-3, kind of a BMD-4, but more of a BMP-3. As you can see, it's got the 30 millimeter autocannon, 100 millimeter ATGM launcher, and kind of similar-ish characteristics otherwise. Now, China will be receiving, at least in their attack helicopter tree, the AH-1W, much the same as the US, and if you want to see what it has of course TOW2s, Hellfires, so it's a pretty capable vehicle, nothing all too crazy, but definitely pretty cool in my opinion. And unfortunately, again, as far as I could tell, nothing for aviation for the Chinese Air Force's tech tree. Now, when it comes to Italy, they will be receiving the Centurion, or the Centauro rather, RGO. This is pretty much going to be a Centauro 120. Pretty much the same thing, except it weighs 4.5 tons more. Can you believe it? And that's because it has, at least in theory, if you can look at it, a little bit better armor, and I'm guessing some other differences as well, but this does have slightly better armor compared to the standard Centauro, but again, you know, whether or not it's worth it, it's got more armor on the turret especially, but whether or not it's worth it, we'll have to wait and see, but that is a big increase. You're talking about a 20% increase in weight without any increase in engine power. So will that kind of hurt its mobility? Yeah, it probably will, but we'll have to wait and see when it actually comes to the live server. Now, when it comes to aviation, the Italians are getting basically the Hungarian line, the Hungarian subtech tree, which is really, really nifty. So we have the IL-10, the Tupolev 2S59, Yak-9P, IL-28, MiG-15 BIS, MiG-17 PF, Su-22 M3, MiG-21 MF and BIS SAO, the MiG-23 MF, the MiG-29, and of course, the JAS-39 EBS HUC Gripen. And the thing with this is that it will have access to, of course, AIM-9Ms, a bunch of flares, chaff, all that. But more importantly, AGM-65 H's and G's. So the G's are IR guided, the H's are TV guided, and the G's are kind of a semi-armor piercing HE, whereas these are, of course, heat. So really interesting in my opinion. These are going to be nasty, nasty missiles, and currently this is the only vehicle in game that has access to those. You also, of course, get the RN Bolzano, which is a heavy cruiser for the Italians, which I'm sure everyone's flocking to as we speak. And now the French will be getting the VTT DCA, which is pretty much a quad mount 50 cal on top of an enclosed chassis, which is cool. You know, I mean, it's a nice enough 3.0 BR vehicle. Don't really know if you'll be able to kill any ground vehicles with that. But when it comes to air, 50 cals are typically pretty decent for low BR. And of course, you'll also get the Alpha Jet E for the French. This is more or less going to be about the same exact vehicle. Again, 9.0 BR. Fairly slow. Cool vehicle, don't get me wrong, but it will be lacking in missiles. Now, the French will be getting the Breton, which is a 10-gun, 340mm cannoned battleship. 1925 won't really have all too much in terms of anti-aircraft armament, but pretty cool nonetheless that we are getting more and more into the battleship line of tech trees. Now, the Swedes will be getting the Christian 2. This is pretty much going to be like the Stridsvagn 121B, except, of course, with slightly fewer, rather, grenades. So this only has access to 8 grenades. This has access to, if I'm not mistaken, 16 grenades. Yep, it does. So this will have fewer grenades than that, unfortunately. But, of course, have access to the DM-23, camouflage net. So pretty cool in my opinion, but more or less just kind of a side grade, just a premium version of the Stridsvagn 121, more or less. Helicopters, Swedes get nothing. When it comes to aircraft, again, unfortunately, at least as of current, they are getting nothing. Now, when it comes to the Israeli ground tech tree, they are getting the Ram Sagal, which is pretty much going to be a Merkava Mark 3D, if I'm not mistaken. It does have additional turret armor, which is pretty nice. But aside from that, this is pretty much, again, going to be a Merkava Mark 3D, 589mm of armor pen, laser warning receiver, laser rangefinder, that sort of thing. They will be getting the AH-60 Battlehawk, which is a new top-level helicopter for them, which is, again, pretty damn cool. But that's pretty much it insofar as what I could tell for this next major update, at least currently on the dev server. So that being said, thanks so much for watching. If you don't mind, please consider liking, commenting, subscribing. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. I will be hosting gameplay for things like the F-20 and other vehicles very soon, probably today. So definitely keep an eye out for that and subscribe to my channel if you want to see that. But again, thanks so much. I'll see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.